back on August the 1st, 2017, a new era of UW Parkside athletics was issued in with the hiring of Gavin as the next athletics director. Andrew sits down with us now, and I asked him before he came on today if you could describe this experience so far in one word, the first 7 months of your experience. He said impactful. If you can kind of expound upon that for us and how this experience has been for you so far.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot to do. It's been an eventful 7 months. That probably would have been a good word as well. With a lot going on, certainly the big announcement that we will be joining the GLIAC next year, a lot of hiring, great opportunity to build a team around our coaches and student athletes, and you know that's been a big focus. Is how are we laying a foundation as we enter the GLIAC? How are we laying a foundation of support systems for our coaches and student athletes? You know, I'm a guy who my career has been through the support staff ranks. You think of communications professionals, athletic trainers. In athletics, that's support staff, and that's still how I try to approach every day as the director of athletics here at Parkside. Is how are we supporting our coaches and student athletes, and how are we supporting our institution? So we're trying to do that in impactful ways. I think some of those are really large scale, some of those are a little bit smaller day-to-day things that hopefully enhance the experience of our student athletes and enhance Parkside athletics in general.
You kind of mentioned your career a little bit, but just for maybe those who don't know, you've kind of gone back and forth between Kentucky and Wisconsin over the last couple of years. You're a Center College alum down in Kentucky. You would spend time at Green Bay. What does your career kind of look like that has brought you to Parkside today?
Yeah, absolutely. Not necessarily intentional that we've bounced back and forth between those two states, but it probably is telling of really enjoying our time in both states. And when I say our, my wife Ashley and I, and now 2 young kids, but came up through the communications ranks, PR, sports information, and really enjoyed that opportunity to use my education, my communications background, being a numbers guy, kind of a stat nerd, to grow in that profession. But I'm really passionate about the role athletics departments play nationally in bringing young people to campus, introducing people to a college or university that they may spend 4+ years at, and we try to think about that in our work here today at Parkside. How are we bringing people to campus through camps and clinics, as well as student athlete recruits, and making sure we make an impression on them, and making sure that they walk away from Parkside thinking that'd be a great place for me to grow as a student, for me to grow as an athlete. So a lot of my background plays into that. I've been fortunate in my career to have worked at all 3 levels. So I was a Division III student athlete, barely, not a great career. 8 career points, I like to own that and make sure everyone knows about that. Didn't quite hit double digits. But Division III student athlete, spent some early time in Division II. The bulk of my years in this profession have actually been in Division I. And then now back at Division II. So try to use experiences at all 3 levels. I think there are a lot more similarities in our work at all 3 levels than there are differences. So any of those experiences, whether it was at my Division III experience with 1,400 students, or working at UCF, with 60,000 plus, we can draw on those and utilize those to make Parkside the best it can be.
So you mentioned your student athlete experience a little bit too. As an athletic director now, one thing that's important is that you preach the athletics and the academic side of it. You had that opportunity to experience that firsthand. How can you kind of preach that to students that, obviously it's very important that you're an athlete for us, but first and foremost you're a student as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the opportunity when you're at college to grow and educate yourself in and out of the classroom, in our case in and out of competition, is there every day 24/7 through your social interactions, your extracurricular activity on campus, just learning to live on your own, to interact with different people of different backgrounds is such a valuable time in any of our lives. So, what I appreciate about Division II, one tagline of Division II is life in the balance, and having spent time at all 3 divisions, I think Division II really has struck gold with how they've created a life in the balance for our athletes. And I think our student athletes have an opportunity, to really excel academically, athletically, and socially, and grow, which is really the ultimate goal, is to be ready for that real world experience.
So one of the new initiatives that you guys are just launching here recently is the Ranger Impact Fund. We mentioned impactful was the word that you used. Impact seems to be a big word for this athletic department. Can you kind of tell us about the Ranger Impact Fund in general and kind of what the idea for that is going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, the word impact does mean a lot to me. It's kind of how I evaluate day to day. It's kind of how I evaluated the opportunity to come to Parkside. I felt like it was an opportunity to have an impact on a group of very deserving coaches and student athletes, and a university as well. So the Ranger Impact really plays into that. It's a philanthropic fundraising arm of what we do here, trying to motivate and inspire donors to potentially help us in this journey. So, you know, rising costs of buses, rising costs of travel, of uniforms, of providing the experience that we need to provide here for our student athletes. We need help, frankly, in that. You know, the state does a great job, our institution does a great job through student fees, as well as, you know, salary dollars and scholarship dollars, of helping us towards that. But, you know, as we join the GLIAC, one of the greatest and best Division II conferences in the country, we got to keep moving that needle. And, you know, the support of our donors, of our alumni, and others that may be interested in helping us provide the best experience possible, the most competitive experience possible, is going to be key. So the Ranger Impact Fund really kind of harnesses those thoughts and allows people hopefully to be inspired to help us out with that journey. So
what do you see as the first couple months of this Ranger Impact Fund and kind of building this going forward for the Parkside athletics for the years to come?
Yeah, absolutely. I think centralizing our fundraising, you know, our coaches have always done a really good job of trying to support their own programs and their own initiatives and their own needs and wants for their programs. But to provide a little bit more of a centralized support system for that is a big part of it. And that doesn't take away from a donor or a supporter's ability to give 100% of their gift to softball, to help Ranger softball. But to kind of have that overarching brand and mission and story to tell about the Ranger Impact Fund and the positive impact that a donor can have on our athletics department. So we'll figure out ways to tell that story, to communicate with donors, to communicate with our alumni, so they know some of the great things going on within Parkside athletics, the great way that they can impact what we're doing here. You know, creating events to bring people to campus, to be out in the community. All of that will kind of become part of what the Ranger Impact Fund entails. But ultimately, it's about, you know, kind of helping empower our student athletes and better their experience.
So the Ranger Impact Fund, it's an impactful tenure so far for Andrew Gavin in his first 7 months with the Parkside Athletic Department. We'll link you to the new website for the Ranger Impact Fund here below. We appreciate you joining us here today, and best of luck in your tenure moving forward.
Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it.